Thank you so much, Commissioner Johnson. As I announced before, he's making time for us, even though he's in between other meetings. So we know that he has a hard stop at 10:25, and we will respect that time. So we'll start with, we already started with some general introductions. So I'm going to start by thanking our partners. We want to start with thanking our partner organizations. We're pleased that many organizations co-sponsored this event and help publicize to their members. And there are some representatives here. If I announce your organization, just raise your hand, please. Asian Americans Advancing Justice, Chinatown Chamber of Commerce, Chinese American Museum of Chicago. Ben is doing translation up there. Chinese American Service League, I see Kevin Amaro, thank you. Chinese Mutual Aid Association, League of Women Voters, Midwest Asian Health Association, People Matter, Project Vision, and Pui Tak Center. I see David Wu, thank you. So, and thank you to our translators. We are going to be presenting in English and providing Cantonese and Mandarin simultaneous interpretation. So we'll try to speak, I will try not to speak my normal speed, even though I may forget, and I'll ask the Commissioner also to speak slowly so that we can let the translators catch up. Thank you. So, welcome Commissioner Johnson, Brendan Johnson. Feel free to take off your mask if you want. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we're so happy to have you in Chinatown. We have an assortment of questions that we've collected from folks that wanted to submit questions, and then we had we have an assortment of questions from our amazing community that we've prepared. So for each of the prepared questions, we'll give 90 seconds for response, and then if I think that there's need for clarification, I'll ask follow-up, and there'll be 1 minute, 60 seconds for the follow-up. And without further ado, we'll let you do your opening statement, which is 2 minutes. And pay attention to this young lady in red right there. She'll give you the prompts for 1 minute and 30 seconds. And stop. So, yep, thank you.
Okay, well, good morning, and thank you for having me. I'm going to work hard to talk slowly. I come from a very large family where you learn to talk fast, otherwise you will get left behind. But I'm grateful to be here with two of my amazing colleagues, Alderman Byron Siccho Lopez and State Representative Teresa Ma. I'm running for mayor of the city of Chicago to usher in a better, stronger, safer city. For too long, our communities have been divided, and as a result of that division, we've had tremendous economic despair that has led to unsafe communities. I really appreciate this moment because my candidacy really reflects my values. It is multicultural, it's multi-generational, and every corner of the city of Chicago has surrounded us in this moment to bring a better, stronger, safer one into fruition. But one of the things that I appreciated most about Chinatown, no matter where you go in the world, is it is one of the most vibrant, bustling communities. And it exists that way because you demonstrate one of the most powerful things that you can demonstrate on the planet. It's act of love. Your businesses are act of love. Your education is an act of love, because this is a community that is surrounded by love. And as mayor of the city of Chicago, I'm committed to investing in your communities to make sure you have everything you need to thrive economically, but more importantly, that this community remains a place where neighborhoods all over the city of Chicago can come and enjoy. And so I look forward to your questions as we move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. So here's the first question. What do you believe is the most pressing issue facing Chicago now? And what do you think are the root causes for it, and how would you address these?
Because of the economic despair that has been the prevailing form of politics in this city for so long, public safety is top of mind no matter where we go in the city. Everyone is concerned about the violence that exists in Chicago. And one of the reasons why there is so much violence in the city of Chicago is because we are not investing in the root causes of violence. One of the things that I think is most important, because the data tells us this, our goal should be to prevent crime from happening. And the way you prevent crime from happening is you create opportunities for young people. I've been a public school teacher in Chicago, started teaching over 15 years ago. And that's why in my public safety plan, I'm committed to doing 3 things, well, 4. 1, doubling the amount of young people that we hire in the city of Chicago, because there is a data that tells us that with youth employment, you will have violence reduction. 2, mental health care services. There's a direct correlation between mental health services and violence reduction. There's also data that proves that when you have communities in which you have affordable housing, that these opportunities create economic stability so that crime is less. But we also have to make sure that we are solving crime in the city of Chicago, and that's why I'm committed to training and promoting 200 more detectives to help us do that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So the next question is, how do you assess the current state of language services for language access for city services and programs? And as mayor, what steps will you take to increase accessibility for immigrant communities? And you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. We don't do a good enough job in the city of Chicago with language, with information and opportunities connected to the city of Chicago, because we do not have language access. We do not provide the range of language in our public schools, within our city services. In fact, on the County Board of Commissioners, I supported measures to make sure that in our Board of Elections, in material that moves out from Cook County government is available in multilingual, multi-languages. Because one of the greatest things that have ever happened to a group of people is when our language is taken away from us. I'm fully aware of that as a descendant of slaves, that when our people were brought into captivity, the first thing that was done was to prevent us from communicating with one another. As mayor of the city of Chicago, I'm committed to making sure that we have language access in all of the services that we provide, because it is a matter of not just preserving our culture, but it's about protecting the interest of our cultures as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question is switching to budgets, because we all know that the city of Chicago doesn't have a lot of money. So what strategies do you propose to address the city of Chicago's budget challenges and ensure the delivery of public services?
Thank you for that question. I'm the only candidate to release a budget plan. I believe it's important as mayor of the city of Chicago to always tell people the truth. I was raised by a pastor. My father was also a carpenter. In other words, he was just like Jesus. So of course, I'm always going to tell the truth. And the truth of the matter is that we have a structural deficit that was caused in the 90s by my opponent. So I'm going to eliminate that structural deficit. I'm going to make up to $1 billion of new investment, and I'm going to do that without raising your property taxes. Right now, we are on the hook for a $2.5 billion property tax because of the pension so-called holiday, in which the regular revenue stream that should have been appropriated for our retirement, my opponent took that revenue stream, put it into the general public's budget, and they were able to have a field day with our tax dollars. And you literally had a budget that was impacted by the fluctuation of the market. And right when the market was prepared to crash, because our budget was built on a house of cards, right when Paul Vallis left, the cards came crumbling down. And now here we are. I'm gonna fix that in my first term without raising your property taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question. You said that you're going to address the structural issues. How would you address the structural issues? You have 1 minute to answer that. Thank you.
So the structural deficit that we face with the city budget is based on the debt that accumulated because we were not paying into people's retirement. And so I find some cost savings in our budget. We also find a way in which we can streamline services to save dollars, but we're also going to need new revenue as well, because we cannot have our entire budget simply going towards debt services, because we still have needs, right? You know, many of you probably have homes. You are paying down the debt from the loan that you have, but you still have to eat every day. If your dollars only go towards your debt and not towards living, that's how you create a permanent state of poverty. So my plan is to find the efficiencies in the budget, address the payments that we haven't made over the course of years, while also generating new revenue so that we can actually have a safer community by investing in healthcare services, investing in schools, and reliable transportation.
I think we'll only have time for 3 more questions because I know that you have a hard stop and we'll probably run a little bit over. Is that okay?
I think we're okay. I'm not in charge of myself anymore. So there are two lovely young ladies over there. They tell me what to do every day.
Okay.
But I'm glad I'm here. I'll stay here as long as you want.
Thank you. So safety is on the minds of everybody during this election season and certainly the past 3 years. So as mayor, how do you envision working with the newly elected Police District Council and the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability to improve public safety outcomes?
Thank you for acknowledging that we have democracy in the city of Chicago when it comes to public safety. That's a remarkable testament to our collective organizing, and I've been a part of that organizing effort from its inception, along with an elected representative school board. I am grateful to have the support of over half of the district council members. They're already prepared to work with the Johnson administration. And one of the things that we are going to do on a consistent basis is to make sure your district council leaders and representatives that you elected are having community participatory opportunities just like this to, one, come up with strategies for a better, stronger, safer community. 2, to make sure that there's real community input to those strategies. And 3, to help us find a superintendent who is committed and dedicated and loves the people of Chicago. Right now, we do not have a full public safety plan. And that's why our communities are as chaotic as they are. Do you know one of the signs of not having a plan for anything is chaos? I'm a public school teacher. I can tell you, if you do not have a plan when you're teaching 7th and 8th graders, you will walk in a room and know that there's not a plan. You also can walk in a room and know when there is a plan. And the best plans that I've ever made as a public school teacher is with the students and the people that I serve. And that's what the district council members will ultimately provide for my administration.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your answer. Thank you. I have 2 more questions. Given rising rent and property taxes, what actions will your administration take to support affordable housing and help residents find and maintain housing security?
Yeah, thank you. Again, I'm committed to not raising your property taxes. It's becoming more and more taxing pun intended, on the people of Chicago. Many families are on fixed incomes, and as property taxes continue to rise, along with gentrification throughout the city of Chicago, it's becoming less affordable for working people. That's why I'm committed within the first 100 days to pass Bring Chicago Home, so that we are generating revenue to not just build more affordable housing, but public housing as well as creating a pathway to home ownership. All three of these mechanisms are important to bring in real economic stability to communities. There are 65,000 plus families that are unhoused. One of the things that we are also looking at and working with the city council is how we expand the affordable housing unit ordinance so that we are creating, again, more opportunities for affordability to be developed in our communities. We want economic development. We want to see our communities grow, but it can't come at the expense of everyday working people. You know, the part that bothers me the most about some of the economic plans that have been proposed by previous administrations, that they don't believe that we have a right to experience the economic development that's happening in our communities. And that's why I'm glad to have the support of someone like Byron Sigcho Lopez, who is one of the baddest aldermen in the city of Chicago.
Thank you.
And I mean that in a good way. He's the good baddest.
There you go.
Does that translate, by the way?
Yeah, see what the translators are able to do. So here's the last question before closing statement. Everybody in this room is concerned about the Near South High School. So what is your vision for providing accessible, culturally responsible, and bilingual education services in the Near South High School community, and how do you plan to achieve this goal?
As an organizer, I worked with our General Assembly to create a funding formula to address that concern. We have a funding formula where school funding should be based on the needs of that district and not based upon how many students you have. Because in many cases, our needs are greater than the number of students that we serve. The funding formula that our colleagues and friends voted for in Springfield, the Chicago Public Schools, right now, they are not adhering or implementing that funding formula. As a result, the Chicago Public Schools is missing out on at least $1 billion of revenue. As mayor of the city of Chicago, I'm committed to making sure that we embrace the new funding formula that Springfield provided us. With the additional resources that we get, it allows us to invest in communities that need the bilingual and the English language learners support. As far as high schools in general, I'm a proponent and supporter of sustainable community schools. This gives additional resources to schools to be able to address the unique challenges that exist within your communities. And so a funding formula, sustainable community schools, and someone who actually believes in public schools, because my children attend the Chicago Public Schools. Thank you.
Are you in support of the proposed Near South High School?
So I'm in support of a community-led process to make sure that no one loses at the expense of someone else winning.
Thank you. Thank you. So that concludes our prepared questions. You have 2 minutes to make your closing statement, or if you have one.
Sure, I won't have to take the entire 2 minutes. I am really grateful that you all have embraced me as your brother. Know that when you vote for me, you are voting for someone who has the lived experiences of the residents of Chicago. Also know that when you cast a vote for Brandon, you are voting for someone who was raised to love people. And the best way you demonstrate how much you love someone is by listening and investing in them. I'm so grateful to have a multicultural, multi-generational movement. When I announced my candidacy in October, no one thought we could win. And now we have black, brown, white, Asians, young, older, working class people. I now have a few rich friends now. Our movement is getting stronger and bigger. We can have a better, stronger, safer Chicago if we're prepared and willing to do it together. I can't wait to be the next mayor of the city of Chicago. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time, and thank you for coming to Chinatown.
Thank you.
Everyone, we have about an hour before the next event, so I'll make a few announcements, but thank you very much, Commissioner Johnson. Let's give him another round of applause.